Hello, I'm Czardus. Grab some coffee, sit back and chill as we go to the Mun. Today I'm going to show you how to get to the Mun, how to land on the Mun, how to return safely from the Mun. That is the goal. But before we do that, be sure if you are new to the channel to hit that subscribe button if you want to see chill Let's Plays and beginner's guides, which, by the way, you might want to check out more of this beginner's guide on Kerbal if you are new to the game. But also, before we get moving, go ahead and go down below to the description or the comments and click on the link to go to the Steam page to wishlist the game that I am making. It'll be a farming life sim where you manage a forest. Anyway, we are going to go ahead and jump right in here, leave the tracking station. And a couple things to note, I have done a lot of research on the tech tree since the last episode in this beginner's guide. But what you really need to get to the Mun is you need to start getting as much in this column as you can. Primarily, you need electrics so that you can get the biggest thing here is the bigger batteries so that you can get over there a little bit better, and you can also get a few other things for science and stuff like that. Space exploration, you will want that so that you can have ladders potentially on your ship. We're actually not going to use them, so I think you could get by without the exploration. Flight control, that one we're going to use the monopropellant tanks and the RCS thruster blocks. Those will come in handy a little bit, not super necessary as well. You might be able to get by without that one. Landing, you do need the landing though, because you need the landing struts. So you need to make sure that you've got that if you want to land. And then I like to have the fuel systems so that we can have really big fuel tanks, and the heavy rocketry so that we can get these bigger solid boosters, and the Bobcat engine, which is a little bit stronger. Although the skipper, maybe we'll switch to the skipper. But anyway, we'll go ahead and take a look at the rocket I've made. By the way, you've gone in or you will want to go in to mission control and get whatever missions you can that involve landing on the Mun or flying by the Mun or orbiting the Mun. Anything related to those we're going to do today. Don't do any focused observations or anything for the Mun because those will be a bit harder. Now I've loaded up my Mun 1 rocket, which you can see here. I'm not going to show how to build it because I think you might be able to do all of that on your own, but I will point out some of the most important things. I have packed in a whole bunch of science here. And in fact, let's take a look at my lander. I'm going to move the decoupler here off of it. And this is my lander. I am going to, one thing I forgot to add before is photovoltaic panels, which will be, let's see, I want 2 here. Would that put, no, it's going to put them, let's see if I put this here. Is that over on this side or nope, on that side? Okay, so then I want to get one more here. So we'll have 4 panels on there. And anyway, so you need the landing struts. And one thing you need to do when you are testing that is make sure you right click on them and hit start extended just to see how far they go down. You need to make sure that they go down farther than your engine. Otherwise your ship will be sitting on the engine or anything else, like I have the high gain antenna sticking down there right now, rather than on your landing struts. But you do want to start them retracted because that will give you a little bit better drag and stuff like that. Now, drag, Kerbal doesn't really calculate drag in realistic ways. Instead, it just weighs the mass and determines from there. So you don't have to worry about drag too much, but it is better to keep them retracted. And then the other thing that I've got in here, if you go into the service bay, you'll see I stacked a couple of batteries. Actually, we only have 1 battery bank in there. I have a reaction wheel as well to help a little bit. And then I put a whole bunch of science in there. We have That's an antenna for MechJep, which is just a mod that I like to use. And then we've got the thermometer, the mystery goo, we've got barometer, and that should be all that's in there. And then, let's close that back out. I have 2 radial science juniors here. And those might be from a mod pack as well. I'm not sure, honestly. But you can build your lander however you want. Now, the key thing here is that the taller it is, the more likely it will be to tip over as you're landing. So you want it to be short and stout as much as you can. And then, of course, put all of it together and then pay attention to your delta V to make sure that you have enough. And you may need to reference the delta V chart as well. Basically, I'd say maybe 4,000 is a rough number to target, and we are at sea level, so we've got quite a bit of delta V. Once we get up there, we'll have a vacuum, and we want to see at MUN, this is how much we will have. And then if we go down, well, it doesn't switch to sea level, so that'll be fine. We'll be at Kerbin, and that is what we want. The staging should be all right. We have everything in there. Now, I'm going to go up here to crew, and I want to take Bill off and put Bob on because I want to bring a scientist. And the reason I want a scientist is because I designed my lander so that it will take off from the MUN, but I'm not taking any of this back when I land. I have another decoupler here, and we're only bringing the landing pod, or like the command pod, back down to Kerbin. So I need to have Bob to do an EVA to come out and collect all the science and bring it back into the command pod. So that is what we're going to do. And now we can go ahead and go to launch. Okay, we are here at the launch pad, and the first thing we're going to do is toggle SAS, which will give me a little bit more stability control. That's always an important thing. And we're going to take off, and we're going to go to about 100 meters per second with our boosters, and then I'm going to start doing a gravity turn. And if you need to learn what that is, be sure to watch my video about orbiting. But I am going to be a little bit steeper on my gravity turn for a while because I want to get up as high into the atmosphere as I can before really getting to 45 degrees, because my ship, the way I've designed it, isn't the most maneuverable in the lower atmosphere once we don't have those bigger boosters. It does have a little bit of trouble maneuvering, and we'll see how I do with the takeoff. But here we go. All right, so I'm doing my gravity turn now. Bring it about to 60 degrees here. And now I'm just watching the atmosphere and how far we are. And once we are up in this darker blue, or like the medium blue, I'm going to go a little bit steeper. Not a ton. But we'll come to maybe about 50 degrees now. And again, I'm only doing it this way because of the way I've designed the ship. And I want to get that apoapsis up pretty high before I switch to these liquid ships. So now we're on here, and actually we've got that worked out exactly the way I needed it to. We got the ship pretty much to that upper atmosphere before I needed to use the liquid. So that should be really good. Now I'm going to watch the apoapsis to about 100,000 meters, 100 kilometers. There we go. And then I'll shut off my liquid engine until I get up close to that apoapsis. One thing you'll notice is that we are gaining speed very slowly with this liquid engine in the atmosphere. And that is because we don't have a ton of thrust from this one, and we have a very heavy rocket. So I could have switched to a different liquid engine, but I think this one will work really well. It does have a good amount of thrust once we're up in the vacuum, and that is really what we're after. Okay, we're in space now, and we're about to get that apoapsis all the way up to 100 kilometers. And now I'm going to switch out using M, the letter M on the keyboard, to come to this view, and we're going to add the maneuver and just get us into orbit as quickly as we can. And that is not a super great orbit there, but here, bring that down and get it to be about a round orbit. That should work there. And then we'll go ahead and tell Jeb to get us to prograde, and we're going to take the burn time and divide that by half. So we have 73 seconds. Divide that by half, that'll be, what, 37 about? So when we are at node in T-minus 37 seconds, I'm going to fire that engine as strong as I can. Okay, we are about there. Let's go ahead and fire. So now we are getting that apoapsis is going to be going up. You can watch up here, tiny bit, but not very well. You probably can't see it very well, but on your screen as you're going, you can watch your apoapsis, or the periapsis right now is going up. Or you can come down here and you can see that blue circle, which is our current trajectory, getting wider and wider. Eventually, we want it to match this orangish or brown circle. And then once we get into space, we will look to see, where is the Mun? There it is over there. And you can see I've got some comm relays going around there. I've got some around Kerbin as well. They're just little satellites that we can bounce our communications off of as well. Okay, we're approaching the end of... There we go. That should be about good. We are in orbit. And now, to get the maneuver to get to the Mun, what you typically want to do is you want to have it be about 90 degrees this way. And then you come in here and you add your maneuver. And then you increase it until you get to a Mun encounter. And you see when I got closer, you got to see the purple start to appear. And then you can refine it a little bit here. So you can see this is where the Mun will be when we encounter it. And we can move a tiny bit. We'll come over like that, and that will actually get our periapsis pretty good there without increasing our speed. So this is about where I want our maneuver to be. That is in 21 minutes, and we will burn for 46 seconds. So we can warp pretty close to that. Okay, so now Jeb needs to turn very quickly, warped a little bit close, but that's okay because we have a bit of a wiggle room in there. And we have time here. We want, again, 46 divided by 2 is 23. So when this T-minus 23 seconds gets there, that is about when we are going to need to fire those rockets, which should be very soon. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're on full strength, and with the liquid engines, you can increase or reduce with control and shift. And so as this is the node, we're showing how much delta V we need to burn yet before we get to achieving our goal with this maneuver node. As it gets pretty low, I will be decreasing the amount that we're burning the fuel. I'll reduce the throttle, that's the word I'm looking for, and then we will be able to get a little bit more fine-tuned. That way you don't have to make sure that you hit that EPS button at the right time. So, yeah, I'm reducing very slowly here. And we should get our encounter very soon. There we go. So now we're going to go a little bit closer there. There. That is a very nice orbit. So we're going to get there, we'll get our encounter, and then we're going to have a good periapsis in there. So now what I want to do is come in here, and before we get going really far, we're going to switch the stability assist to regular stability assist. And then I just want to rotate so that these photovoltaic panels are actually oriented to the sun as much as we can here. There, that should be about right. Not perfect. I mean, yeah, about 8.84. That's pretty good. At the very least, we should have a full electric charge there. And that should be very good. Now we can go back here, and we'll go ahead and just warp all the way to the encounter. And as we approach the Mun here, you can see that it is getting closer, and now we have shifted. We are in the sphere of influence, and so the focus changed to the Mun. Now we want to create a new maneuver here where we are at the periapsis of our orbit around the Mun. And we'll go ahead and we'll just do that. We're just going to slow down a tiny bit to get within an orbit here. And we can go ahead, and that will be a very short burn. Let's go ahead and warp there. And I will tell Jeb that we want to be at retrograde. So that will get Jeb to turn a little bit. There's a lot of weird math going on here with our orbit currently, but once we get in position here and warp, or not warp, but burn those engines, we should be good. And in fact, we could probably just turn this off and we'll just burn here. We just want to get that. No, we're watching this blue circle here. We want to get that inside the Mun's atmosphere, or sphere of influence. There we go. So now we've got an apoapsis in here. It's a day away. That should be fine. And actually, we could use more fuel now to do this, but I think what we'll do is we'll warp over here, and then we'll do some stuff. But I do have some science. If you have this mod here, is called Science Alert, and it will tell me when I have different science available, and you can see I've got a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and do some of this and then collect all of it in an EVA, and then come back in, and we'll warp over there and go from there. Okay, so now that we're over here, we're going to go to retrograde again. I'm just having a tiny bit on that throttle so that I can watch that periapsis. We don't want to go too low, but we do want to get it a bit closer. I want to be, let's say, at about 20,000 meters, maybe. So we'll bring that a little bit closer here, and we'll stop it. That is a pretty tight orbit here. Now we have a ton of delta V though, so I am really happy with that. We'll go ahead and we will warp to here, and then once we're over there, we're going to do another burn to get that orbit even tighter here. And while we're at it here, we can start to kind of decide where we're going to land. I want to land in this crater here, I think. Or at least I want to try. Now, it's not always super easy to pick where you want to land, in my experience. I probably need to do more of these landings to get even more experience with that, but I think it'll be fine. So let's go ahead, and we are at retrograde again. Let's go ahead and burn that, and that apoapsis is coming down, and you can see we still have plenty of delta V. Unfortunately, all of this is going to get lost when we jettison that giant fuel tank and engine. But that just means I was a little bit more efficient with my takeoff this time than I was in my testing ahead of time. So now, because we're so far away from the periapsis, that apoapsis is coming down quite a bit slower than I'd like. So let's warp a little bit further here, and then we'll do this again. And get back pointing at that retrograde, and then we can pull that in a little bit better. Just watching that, and right now periapsis, yeah, you can see that we are getting a little bit too low. I don't want to be quite that low, although look at this, we've got more science. I'm going to go ahead and do these really quick. Okay, so I'm going to warp over here, and I've got another EVA. So now I'm getting a whole bunch of different EVA reports that I can do from all the different spots. So you might get that option too. And now we're flying over a different spot. Again, now we're over the Highlands, and so I don't get the EVA report. But I'm going to have Bob come out here, and we're just going to warp a tiny bit more. And as soon as we get over something, oh, we can't do that while we're over a ladder. Okay, fine. I will get back on board, and let's just focus on landing here. Let's warp to the periapsis. So in that meantime, I actually was able to do 2 more EVAs, but now we're now at the periapsis, and so now I feel much better about firing this engine here and getting that apoapsis much lower. And that now we're a little bit further again. Let's go a little bit farther ahead here. And what we're essentially going to do here, I'm going to hit this EVA report and grab that really quick. What we're going to do is, when we get to where we want to go, we are going to kill the horizontal speed, and you can see that here, the surface info, and that, I think that's from MechJeb. Yeah, MechJeb is giving me this information. It's really useful. You can also get some of it here. You can see the horizontal speed is 584 right now. That's pretty much all of our speed, actually. But our apoapsis is still higher than I want, so I'm going to fire full strength here. There we go. That is a bit better. Let's bring it a little bit more. And we'll put it about right there. So I'm going to try to land in this crater here. And in order to do that, we want to, like I said, kill our horizontal speed. And actually, we are going to, we're going to try to rotate here. And horizontal speed is going to be, I believe, blue dot, or the blue circle. Is it? How is our electric charge? That is fine. I did not end up seeing the one that I'm looking for. Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're just going to come back this way, and we want to face, actually, I think we're going to do this, because then we can visualize it. We are turned the wrong way. That is part of it. Let's come this way. Nope, other way. The nice thing is that we're in an orbit, so no matter what, we're not going to crash while we're trying to get this all in the right spot. So I'm going to move it around until I get to where we want to be, which is a little more challenging than you'd like it to be, of course. Essentially, we do want to be on this We're blue and orange. Just finding the right angle here. Although you would think that it would be around retrograde, actually, come to think of it. So yeah, we're going to get to retrograde. And what I want to do is keep this stability assist. And now when I fire this, we should be killing that surface speed. We are. Very good. Vertical speed is going to get lost a tiny bit too. But mostly it is just that surface speed I want, and you can see that we're really slowing down. Okay, so surface speed, we want that horizontal speed. We don't want retrograde now, but we do. Let's jettison this, actually. So I'm just fire that. Now we have much more control. Now we want to bring this up to the nav ball being this way. And I don't think we're in the crater that I was planning, but we're going to land in the lowlands, and we're going to extend the landing legs. You can do it by right-clicking on them or going up here to toggle gear action group. Also, we don't have those antennas out. We probably should get those extended. Okay, so now we have some horizontal speed. And that is going to be a little bit hard to get rid of. We're going to come this way. That should bring it down. Yeah. Our engine is quite a bit weaker now, so we have to be a little bit more ahead of our plans. Vertical speed is still really high, but horizontal speed is getting much lower. We're going to kill our engine there, and then we'll come back up here, and that retrograde is right about where we want it to be. Now we're going to fire this and try to get our vertical speed as low as we can. You can see that is really good now. Basically, you want all of your speed to be as low as possible when you hit that surface. And because our engine is so, like our thrust is so low, we're going to do this now and get that surface speed really low before we start to approach the surface. The other thing we're going to do is switch here, and that actually shows how much distance we have until the surface. Then we want to rotate around and see if we can find, oh, there went our debris there. Find our shadow. I don't see it yet. Surface speed is getting much more manageable now, so we're going to lower that a little bit more. And then we're going to come over here and just try to push that retrograde to the center a little bit more. That got our horizontal speed even slower, and now I'm firing again to try to get that vertical speed a little bit better again. We want to be like as low as possible. Ideally, we want to land when we're at 0. We're going to land a little bit on a slope here. The reason I'm looking for the shadow, there it is because then we can see visually how close we are. And I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Horizontal speed is still very, very tiny. This is going about as well as we can imagine, or as well as we can hope here. Bring this a little bit slower. We're like a little bit lower on that engine. So we don't want to use up all of our fuel either, because we don't want to get stuck. But we should be in good shape here. Getting closer. Bring this up a little bit more. Very, very close now. We've got a little bit of horizontal speed. Right, here we go. Yeah, we've got quite a slope here. Not the most ideal spot to land. And we're gonna tip over. But that's all right. That's okay. We'll figure it out when it's time to land. It does happen. It's because we ended up on a slope here. And what we're going to do, though, is we're going to go ahead and do some tests here. We'll do a material study. And then, yeah, keep that. And EVA. Bob will come out here. And we want to let go. And when you're doing EVAs, what we can do a surface sample here. That'll be a huge amount of science. Do an EVA report there. I don't think I have science experiments. You can't do it yet. Nope. Okay. So now what I want to do is actually I'm going to come around here and we're going to open up the service bay just so that we can be in here and see. Do we need anything here? Wait, take data from that and then lock that. Very good. Yep. We want that. And we're going to take that data again. And then let's reset this. Can we even get in there? Yep, we can. Collect the data from that. Restore it in case we get another option to do some more. And we're going to come over here and get to the barometer. Take that data. Log it again. Take it again. Then we want to get to that mystery goo. So we're going to do RCS. We're going to come up here. There we go. We just climb on there. Oh, look at that. We can. Very good. And then we can get here. Science Junior. Take that. Restore that one. And there, I had the mystery goo, but I lost it. I'm gonna climb back up here and take that. Restore that. Observe. Keep the experiment and climb on here again. Collect the data. Come on, get close enough. Okay, and then restore that really quick. Okay, now we are going to close that. We've got everything we can get. Now we are going to try and get back in here. So we get it to be climb. Nope. Must not be the door. The door is over here. Jump. The jump made us fall down this way. That's not what we wanted. So let's try that again. This time we might need the RCS. So we'll come in here. And then we're going to go up. So RCS, when you turn that on, your WASD and shift and stuff changes to control that. Actually, is this the entrance? No. We're like in a really difficult spot. There we go. And then we hit board. Now we're in here. Now, the reason we brought the RCS is because of this situation. So now we've got some engines. We can stand back up. Actually, I should have kept those out, shouldn't I? We're going to extend those, and then we're going to come up here. Okay, what we'll do... Well, we'll retract those, you can see that we can pretty much get this way. Interesting. If we go a tiny bit more, we can observe stuff again. But what we're going to do, we don't want to use up all of our monopropellant. So we're going to do that. And then that. Okay, so now we are taking off again. And we are going to deploy all of these. Collect as much science as we can. And then we are going to watch that. We want to get as good as we can here. We'll go ahead and extend this. We're watching that apoapsis, and we want that to be maybe 10,000. And then once we're at 10,000, we will switch to a maneuver to get us back into low MUN orbit. Okay, so we got that. Now we want to come up here and we're going to get a maneuver. That is just about good enough here. And it's going to take half of our delta V. We might not have enough. In which case, you really just have to get, bring more delta V, essentially. Bring this over here, and we're just going to go to prograde and hope for the best. What we could do, potentially, is just, if we can get that apoapsis high enough, in fact, let's go ahead and we'll take that out. We're just going to do prograde until we get our apoapsis out, and then we will be in an orbit again. We just have to escape the sphere of influence of the MUN, and then we can get back. Okay, we're getting pretty close here. Pretty soon we should be out of fuel, but also out of the MUN's sphere of influence. There we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to warp to the MUN escape. Okay, now we are in orbit around Kerbal again, and if we stayed in this orbit, we would end up having another MUN encounter. But, of course, we don't want that. We are going to fire as much as we can at our retrograde and see if we can get that periapsis down low enough. I'm a little nervous that we won't have enough. Yeah, we don't have enough. So, hopefully you had better success. I'm going to have to do a rescue mission or redo this on my own save, but that is essentially how. You just have to bring a tiny bit more fuel, and then you'll be able to land, and it'll be fine. But anyway, I hope you liked this. I sure did. It's fun with Kerbal. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. Take care.